from Austin, which is everybody here. This is part 6, and the part 5 was in Austin because there's many prayers of Queen Kunti. And before the prayers of Queen Kunti, we heard 2 classes on the exemplary life of Queen Kunti. You all missed all that, but it's recorded. And if you want, you can go back and hear the recordings. Because I'll say this, I've learned a lot about transcendental teachings and transcendental knowledge and the exaltedness of Queen Kunti. And she's a very puzzling personality. I mean, in one sense, it's very straightforward. She's the mother of the Pandavas. And how did she become the mother of the Pandavas? By her most outstanding service to, of all people, Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni, who spooks everybody. Look out, here comes Durvasa Muni. So Radharani and Queen Kunti, they got their good side because they served him nicely. And he recognized that and rewarded them and did the Durvasa Muni on the nice side and you got on the other side and look out. So from her childhood or her life as a young woman, young girl, she was exalted and exalted and exalted, and through tribulation, the exaltedness didn't waver. She never became unsure of Krishna's protection, even when, and it's in one of her prayers, Vipadam, in every step, let difficulties come. Who prays for difficulties? Kunti. And why? Because Krishna comes when there's difficulty. So the difficulty, that's most welcome because Krishna will come. She has all confidence from experience. Krishna comes. He personally comes. Now, one of the puzzling features, that the scene is after the Rajasuya Yagya. What does Rajasuya Yagya mean? It means there's a series of events in Mahabharata where the Pandavas many things happens. But one of the many things that happened is when they came back from apparently being killed to not only not being killed, but they Arjuna won the hand of Draupadi, and then all 5 of the brothers married the same wife. You all know that history. And then from that period of time where they were as if dead, when they came back, the inimicalness of Duryodhana was known, and because he'd already attempted murder and so forth and so on. So they knew that this man he's our cousin, but he's vicious. He's a murderer. He doesn't like us. So when they came back, they were given half the kingdom. Dhritarashtra, bless his heart. Yudhishthira is the by law, the law of progenitor. The eldest son becomes the next emperor. He was entitled to the whole, but Dhritarashtra was too attached to Duryodhana, so he gave him half the kingdom. And what's the half the kingdom that he gave him? A forest. a forest that was inhabited by rakshasas and wild entities of all descriptions. You know the past, so this is just part of the history. So Agni approached Yudhishthir and Arjuna and Krishna, because Krishna was with them. Agni wanted, he had too many yagyas, too much ghee, indigestion. What do you do with your Agni? And people give too many yagyas and he's having indigestion. He needed some medicine, and the medicine was available in this forest, Kandava forest. But each time he tried to devour the medicine by fire, like a fire, forest fire, Indra would pour downpours of rain. It would stop. So Agni requested Krishna and Arjuna, help me get over my indigestion. This is the medicine in the forest, the herbs and this and that. So they did. And they prevented Indra from pouring downpours of rain. And as the fire was blazing and blazing and blazing, so many entities. So Krishna with his Sudarshan chakra, it's very exciting, battle scenes. And Arjuna with his bow, all the rakshasas and creatures that came out of the forest, they killed them. One of them, there's a handful, literally 5 that escaped, and one of those was Mayadanava. I mean, it's a long description. Mayadanava is as there's an architect of the demigods. What's his name? Starts with a V. Vishvakarma. So as there's an architect of the demigods, there's an architect of the Daityas, or the Danavas, the bad guys. And Mayadanava was that person amongst the Danavas. And when he came out of the forest, Krishna had his Sudarshan chakra ready to chop him. And before Krishna released his Sudarshan chakra, there's details, but he fell at the feet of Arjuna. Protect me, please. So Arjuna said, yes. Anyone who takes shelter, I'll give them protection. And when Krishna saw that Mayadanava had taken shelter of his devotee, Krishna withdrew his Sudarshan chakra. His life was saved. So although he's a Danava, he had a sense, cultured people have a sense of gratitude. And so he expressed his gratitude to Arjuna. You saved my life. I'd like to do something for you. And Arjuna said, Kshatriyas don't give protection to others with the expectation that there'll be some reward. So thanks, but no thanks. And Krishna said, say yes. No, don't say no. Because you, Yudhishthir, and the Pandavas, and Kunti, are given half the kingdom, and it's this forest. You don't even have a place to stay. It's just forest. Now the forest is burned, a major portion. So ask Mayadana to say yes, and ask him to build fantastic palace for Yudhishthir, not for you. So Arjuna said yes. And Mayadanava took on the task. He went to celestial regions to gather the paraphernalia needed to build the palace. On the way, with the king of the Danavas, he received the club from the king of Danavas and gave it to Bhima, Bhima's celebrated club. And he built this fantastic place. So much so fantastic, that they invited their cousin brother, Duryodhana, to pay them a visit and see their nice palace. You know what happened. It was a mysterious type of place where what looked like land was water, what looked like water was land. So he was walking across the land and he fell into water. And Krishna was there with the queens because Krishna had gone to attend the Rajasuya Yagya. And at at Yudhishthira's invitation, although they didn't have a place, he wanted to have this officially accept the position of emperor of the world. So the queens were laughing. And Yudhishthira said, "Stop. That's not nice." And Krishna said, "Laugh." The reason was Krishna wanted to irritate Duryodhana because Krishna wanted the war, because Krishna wanted Duryodhana out of the way. Prithanaya sadhanam vinashaya chaduskritam. He's a duskriti for sure. And Krishna came to eliminate. So with that irritation, it meant it was a guarantee there's going to be a war, because I, Duryodhana, cannot bear living on the same planet as this person. So the Rajasuya Yagya, such fame went to the Pandavas for this palace and all the mysterious things that they had done. The exaltedness was honored by everybody. So it was the right time. Yudhishthira felt finally it's the right time. And so the Rajasuya Yagya. And the scene is after the Rajasuya Yagya, Krishna's going back to Dwarka. And look at all those people in that painting. There's a lot of people. And Kunti went right up to the chariot as Krishna's on his way back to Dwarka. That's a long journey to go from Hastinapur to Dwarka on a chariot. Shoo. Hope they had good roads. And this is the circumstance of her prayers. And only towards the very end, which is going to happen today, she doesn't say, she almost says with the final prayer, "Please don't go, please stay." But most of the prayers, she doesn't say it explicitly, and most of the prayers she's expressing her appreciation for Krishna and how Krishna has and who Krishna is. And we just completed in part 4, we completed a whole series, like 5 verses, where she's, nobody understands you. I don't understand you, and nobody understands you. And then she gives, the apparently contradictory features that are within Krishna, like you're unborn and you take birth. And not only you take birth, but you appear in all species. You appear as aquatic. You appear as a tortoise. You appear as a boar. You appear as this and you appear as that, and then no, I don't understand you. People don't understand you. Then there's a whole series of verses, and it starts. The first verse this evening starts with, and some say. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is a superlative commentator. He says this is the real reason, the hearing and chanting reason. Some say that you appear because in this present age there's discrepancy in Dharma, and to restore Dharma you engage everyone in hearing and chanting your glories. That's the real reason, according to Vishwanath. It's of the many, many, many reasons. So some say you appeared for this reason. Some say to honor King Yadu, because otherwise he's an obscure person way back in history, and who even knows, but he's well known. Yaduvira, Yadunandana, Yadunath. He's Krishna is the lord of the Yadu dynasty. So Yadu becomes a celebrity because Krishna appeared in his dynasty. Some say that's the reason for your appearance, just to honor your devotee. Yadu, a previous king, And you appeared in his dynasty to honor the previous devotee, king. Anyway, some people say, and some people say that all of them are right. And then this set of prayers is just the conclusion. It's verse number 38, 39, 40 that ends his prayers, or her prayers, and then there's a little concluding section that follows her prayers. So here we go. That's a little background. And I feel sad in one sense that the richness of who she is, you haven't had the opportunity to hear it because it's fantastic, super fantastic. But it's okay. You can go back and hear the other earlier ones. And here's the invocation, and if the sound system works, there's going to be a singer. Her name is Sri Rupa, and there's a little music that goes along with her singing. And you can sing, she'll say the verse twice, and after the first time around, you have to pause, because if you don't pause, you'll mess up. And then you can sing along the second time around. It's your system. Louder. Volume up. No, pause. Pause. Oh, my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Now, this is 36. I spoke wrongly. It was not 38, 36. And you have to pause after she finishes the first time through, please. Shivanti Gayanti Gananti Abhikshnasham Smaranti Nandanti Tavetanam Taeva Pashyan Chachirena Tavakam Vapavaho Paramam Padam Bhajam. Eva pasyantya chirena tavakam bhava bhava paramam padam bhajam. Oh Krishna, those who constantly hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Now this phrase, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grananti, appears later in the Bhagavatam, earlier in the Bhagavatam, in Canto 1, Chapter 5. Here's the verse. This is Narada speaking to Vyas. Narada's instructing Vyas. You know the verse, Tadvarga Vasargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokam Abhadyavatsvapi, etc. Shrinvanti Gayanti Grananti Sadavaha. Now I requested a copy of the Bhagavatam. Do you have a copy of the Bhagavatam in your home? Could you get this verse? And I'd like to read the translation. 1:5:11. Ravana, pictured here. Hiranyakashipu comes, the Jarasandha, Shishupal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. This is Prabhupada's purport. When hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. So this is the two of the nine. This is one of the verses that we discussed in Kunti's prayers. The process of hearing and chanting begins, and it's at the essence of, or the essential beginning of, all the other processes. And these two personalities indicate they achieve perfection simply by hearing chanting. One should not consider that Krishna's dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. No, you know that's Prabhupada's language. Because he was dealing with a group of people that say otherwise. Not just minimize, but explicitly say otherwise. That we're not interested because it's on the material side, and here's the non-material side, the Krishna with the gopis, and they like Krishna with the gopis, which is fine. But without having the qualification of understanding everything in relation to Krishna is as transcendental as anything else in relation to Krishna, then there's misfortune for that person, or those who hear from that person. And so Kunti is saying that there's perfection for those who engage in these activities or participate with others who are engaged in these activities. Here's Vishnunath Chakravarti Thakur. Persons who constantly hear, sing, repeat, hear, sing, speak, and remember, and sing, he says sing again twice, to others about your activities, they alone, without delay, are able to see your lotus feet, which destroy the influence of material existence. Now this without delay, there's different terms in the Bhagavatam that indicate the without delay part. I don't need that. I just need this. Here's the text, Achirena. This verse shows the actual reason, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, for the Lord's appearance. They, and not others, see for certain. It is not that they do not see. They see. without delay, not after a long time. Your lotus feet, not the lotus feet of one of your expansions. Those lotus feet destroy the influence of the material existence rather than prolong material existence. Your form is not without qualities. In order to appreciate the beauty of the Lord, his 6 aspects need to be seen. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he's been a guide for us, for me, for all, to go over Queen Kunti's prayers. His commentary is very sublime. Now, there's a statement made by Srila Prabhupada. Here's a nice statement. One interviewer in New York City, New York Post or something like that, he wanted to know, Swamiji, have you ever seen Krishna? And then Prabhupada's answer was, not only I've seen Krishna, but I'm always seeing Krishna. Do you believe me? The man didn't know how to reply. I'm always seeing Krishna. So what does that mean? What does that mean? No, a little bit spinning out on what is some statement made by an acharya or made by scripture. What does it mean? And one of the beautiful features of Sanskrit is, according to the circumstance and the lens through which one regards the circumstance, there can be multiple correct meanings. And or in other words, it's very conducive to poetry. Poetic expression is often using the ornaments of alliteration or metaphor, and it's something unknown is compared to something known. It's poetry. Just like, you see the moon over there, see the tree. The moon is in the tree. The moon's not in the tree, but it's directionally over there. And, oh, there's the tree. Oh yeah, there's the moon. But the and so forth. So many nice examples of poetic expression of, in Valmiki's writings and Vyasadev's writings and all of the Vedas and the commentators. So here's Srila Prabhupada saying, I'm always seeing Krishna. There's a little art depiction. He's there sitting in his, preparing his Bhaktivedanta purports, and in different ways, he's seeing Krishna. In the pages of the transcendental literature. In elevated devotees, so one can say, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, with the eyes anointed with the salve of prema, one can see Krishna. The Prabhupada's expression, when seeing the tree, they don't just see the tree, they see Krishna. No, when I see a tree, I don't see Krishna. Probably most of us don't see Krishna. We see a tree. The tree is a manifestation of a form of the 8,400,000 species, and this type of tree, that type of tree, and known by different names. And a botanist knows the names. I don't know the names, but some persons are very gifted. But not just see the varieties of forms, that's nice. And then there's a soul within, that's nice. And within the soul and within the form of that tree, there's super soul situated everywhere. And who can see? Can you see Krishna everywhere? No, neither. But by pure bhakti, Krishna can reveal himself to such a person. Whenever, whatever. It's not ordinary. So, to understand the messages of the Vedas when something is puzzling, this is a nice word. You don't know the word, it's a good word to learn. Hermeneutics. And a nice example, rather recent contemporary example is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Of course, our Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and all of our Gaudiya Acharyas, the 6 Goswamis, they were also very expert, but more recent chronologically is Bhaktisiddhanta not just was scholarly, but he could understand many things from from one statement and explain. There's an example when one time Bhaktisiddhanta was, I forget where exactly it was, somewhere in the northernmost parts of India. I forget where it was. And he gave himself a challenge and met the challenge. He spoke on one verse on the Bhagavatam for 64 days and didn't repeat himself. Now, many of us who have heard Srila Prabhupada speak, his gift was saying something again and again, and it still sounded fresh. But the audience was dull and not refined. And so he would say things again, because we needed to hear it again and again. Repetition is necessary sometimes for clear understanding. So he would say it again and say it again and say it again, and had fresh meaning, especially if one was listening with great attention. In contrast, Bhaktisiddhanta would do something a little differently. He would speak on one verse and never repeat, or purposely not repeat. No, it's purposely. Sometimes he would repeat things. But even when he would repeat things, he would often say things in language that was different than the previous time. It was a gift. That's hermeneutics. Looking at something, a Sanskrit skill, understanding a passage from Scripture through the context. And it's very common in commentaries of acharyas. One phrase, multiple meanings. So now we're moving on in Kunti's prayers. Shamna chanyad babatak padam bhujat parayanam rasachushan. Yeah. Yesham Parayanam Rajasu Yoshitam Asam. Oh, my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. You are leaving us today. Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now, when all kings are at enmity with us, that is to say, Rajasuya Yajna has been declared. And when someone says, I'm the victor, then, a classic is people will challenge the victor. So the enmity towards the Pandavas What have they done that is provoking enmity? They've just been virtuous and successful with Krishna by their side. Just like, anyone, like Prabhupada. When he was obscure, no one paid attention. When he started to become successful, there started to be enemies. This, that, and the other group of people. I remember Ted Patrick. And, there was enmity. So Ted Patrick, was a fellow that his people hired him to deprogram Hare Krishna kids. And there was a period of time when youth in America were flocking to Srila Prabhupada. Just today, I was having a conversation with a Prabhupada disciple named Devi Deva. Devi Deva grew up in Toronto. He told me this today. He was the youngest of 8 children, and when he was 16, he went to an anti-war event in Toronto and got a Bhagavad Gita from a devotee. And that was it. He wanted to go to the temple, and after going to the temple, he wanted to join the temple. He's 16. And his siblings, what to speak of his parents, they freaked out. He was undeterred. He didn't get encouragement. He got the opposite. But, so there were so many young people that took interest in Krishna consciousness and dedicated their lives to Prabhupada. So, certain generation of people thought, what's going on here? He's brainwashing. So anyway, Ted Patrick made a profession out of people would go to him and by sleep deprivation and harassment, and he tried to break the spirit of the devotees, the young devotees from. There's opposition. And anyway, there's opposition from the Smarta Brahmanas in India and this and that. And so be successful. Don't be successful. No one pays attention. Be a little successful. There's enmity. And the Pandavas were very successful. And there was enmity. So you're leaving us? Because there he's on his chariot. He's ready to go back to Dwarka. Here's a little summary. After glorifying Lord Krishna for being unperceivable to anyone other than his devotees, for adventing himself in the world and for enacting wonderful human-like pastimes, Kunti Devi now expresses her deepest fear. The Lord, after guiding the Pandavas through innumerable difficulties, will soon depart. Here's Prabhupada. Srimati Kunti Devi felt impending separation from Krishna to be like a thunderbolt. This prayer of the Queen is to try to persuade him to stay with them. Now, she didn't say, but she did say. Because it's subtle, but Krishna understood. In the case of our transcendental relation with the Lord, it is the most fortunate case when we can live completely dependent on him. This is Prabhupada. And here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. O Lord, do you, whose deeds are automatically accomplished, desire to reject us today? Though we are your friends and depend on you, we, having created trouble with many kings, have no other shelter than your lotus feet. Vishwanath. We, that's the translation of the verse, commentary. We and not others become happy on seeing you and suffer on not seeing you. The time of happiness has passed, and the time of suffering has arrived. Do you desire to leave us today, since you desire to go to Dwarka? She's pouring out her heart, and Krishna may say, but I've stayed so many days. Now I must go to Dwarka. I have necessary work there. Please give your consent. To this, Kunti answers, but you are the person whose necessary works are already accomplished by my sons, who served as your instruments. The Pandavas created suffering for many kings by killing their fathers or relatives. We depend on you, Anujivanaha. Therefore, please stay here and protect my sons. Nice. Now, how can Krishna say no? But he goes. In a different but similar fashion, this is Haridas Thakur. As you know, he was captured by the Qazi, put in jail for his misdeeds of chanting Hare Krishna. He was a Muslim by birth, but he's chanting Hare Krishna, so what are you doing here? To break his spirit, he put him in chains and put him in jail. And when he went into the jail, there were many other people in the jail. And the other people in the jail, Haridas Thakur blessed them. Stay here, stay as you are now. And they started to cry. What? You're a sadhu, you're supposed to set us free. He said, no, because you're in this situation, now you're feeling exclusively dependent upon the personality you got in. Whether you're in jail or not in jail, stay as you are. Exclusively dependent. It is not only the Pandavas who are put into the condition of enmity, but all of us are always in such a condition. And the best way of living is to become completely dependent on the will of the Lord and thereby overcome all difficulties of material existence. So this is a theme in Kunti's prayers because she and her sons were put into material difficulties because of being in material existence. Duryodhana being, one of the main hitmen, wanted to give them trouble or extinguish them or something. But trouble after trouble after trouble after trouble, and the trouble and trouble and trouble. And that's in her verses. You rescued us from cannibals, from vicious kings, from this and from that, from the house of lack. You rescued us. Others were instruments, Vidura and the man that dug the tunnel through the house of lack, and this and that, and the Nagas that rescued Bhima, although they were trying to bite him. And so you say you protected us, Krishna. So the situation of feeling dependent is good. It can be uncomfortable, feeling dependent, but it's good. Just a little appreciation. In Texas A&M, they have a bhakti house. Not at Texas A&M, UT Austin. So one of the events at their bhakti ashram, the Govinda, who's the facilitator there, wanted everyone to say their name, and when you hear the word God, say one word that you think, what comes to your mind when you hear the word God. So one of the persons in the audience, a black girl, said, surrender. Now most people, when they hear surrender, they go, what? That's demeaning. You're putting yourself down, you want to surrender? Come on. But that was what she thinks. So we had this little discussion afterwards, like what was in your when you think of surrender, what do you think? It's taking shelter, have a place of protection in a situation that's difficult. There's a place of shelter. There's a place of protection. So here's a nice example. You'll like this nice example, I think. This has to do with Rukmini. One of the reasons why Krishna left, the main reason why Krishna left Mathura to go to Dwarka was Rukmini. So Rukmini had a brother, and Rukmini's brother, what was Rukmini's brother's name? You know the story. So Rukmi had some animosity towards Krishna, big time. And he had a friend named Shishupal, and he, as the elder brother, was going against what his father wanted because he was the elder brother, and he wanted his sister to marry Shishupal. And Rukmini was like, what? Everyone except Rukmini were happy with Rukmini's decision. She was quiet about it, but she definitely wasn't going to marry a person who she despised, who had despised Krishna. So she wrote Krishna a letter. Dark-eyed Vaidarbi was aware of Rukmini's plan to marry her to Shishupal, and it deeply upset her. Analyzing the situation, she composed a letter, a love letter, right? And quickly sent a letter with a trustworthy brahmana to Krishna. So she's at her home, and she's writing a letter to Krishna, and she hears some of the passages from her letter. It's right in the Bhagavatam, chapter 52. Betrothed to a man she loathed, Rukmini wanted to be Krishna's wife, but would he consent? So she wrote a detailed letter and said, there's only one way, and that you have to kidnap me. And there's only one way to kidnap me. On a certain occasion, I'm kept inside all the time by my family because I'm not married. But on a certain occasion, we go outside the home and to visit the family deity. And when I visit the family deity, come along in your chariot and kidnap me. She's like, she had the whole thing figured out. She's a smart girl. And so, sure enough, Krishna came along in the chariot. And when at the right moment, Krishna lifted her onto the chariot and sped away. And when she sped away, Rukmi was very angry. Not only, his sister wanted to marry Krishna, who he loathed, but that his plan to have her marry Shishupal was spoiled. So a big battle ensued. And the big battle that ensued, guess who won? Krishna won. Lord assured her, do not be afraid, beautiful-eyed one. This enemy force is about to be destroyed by your soldiers. Your soldiers means Krishna's soldiers. And they were all defeated. So, when there's difficulty, if you're Kunti, you invite difficulty. If you're Rukmini, you're already in difficulty. You don't have to create it. But Krishna will, if you take shelter in Krishna, I just had this again. This is not a nice storybook. It's a nice storybook, but it's real. Because I had this discussion just this morning with Devi Deva about something that's important to both of us. He shared his experience from the early days. He is a service-minded person. He's still doing service. That's what he does. And difficulty after difficulty after difficulty. And Krishna always works something out. we were discussing a situation that we're both facing difficulty with. And there's exactly how Krishna is going to work it out is unclear, but it seems that Krishna is working it out. And it's been, it sometimes doesn't get worked out quickly. It's been a long time to get something worked out. And it's quite significant that let it get worked out. But Krishna is to the rescue. One who takes shelter in Krishna, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, but you know the principle that Krishna's protection is there. So here's a message from Queen Kunti's prayers. Please pay attention over here. The highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. So effort and mercy, right? Same Damodar Leela one more time. Do not become complacent or an idle parasite. These are Prabhupada's words. Work with vigor and valor towards something that you understand. This was exactly our conversation today. Who knows what the outcome of situation X is going to be? When Prabhupada came to America, did he know how it was going to work out? Of course he didn't know. Did that deter his determination? Not at all. And then one thing and the next thing is setback, and people stole his typewriter, and people stole his Bhagavad Gita manuscript, and he just next day started version number 2. Completely fixed on the mission. And if you're not fixed on the mission, you're in for a rough ride. But if you're fixed on the mission, and there's a setback, because that's a major part of Queen Kunti's prayers. There's Krishna's there, and there's an unknown perhaps purpose behind misfortune, and one of those purposes is take deeper shelter. For those who are faithful, it's an impetus to take deeper shelter. That's the message, and never become complacent on the Krishna is going to take care of everything so I can take it easy. No. Nice lessons, practical lessons. Here we go, verse number 38. Pause. Nilayam nama rupabhyam yadubhi saha pandava bhavato darshanam yarhi rishikam. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once, like the soul leaving the body. If you leave, it's like that. Superficially, my dear Krishna, we Pandavas now possess everything, for we rule the entire kingdom. But our kingdom flourishes only due to your continued merciful glances, without which this kingdom has as much value as a body after the soul's departure. Prabhupada. The senses of the body are useless without the guidance of consciousness. No one should be proud of his prestige, power, and fame without being guided by the favor of the Supreme Lord. So you just see the soul just showed up, and next to the soul is, guess who? Super soul. The living beings are always dependent, and the ultimate dependable object is the Lord himself. Her prayers are very clear and very practical and very devotional. Vishwanath, without your presence, who are we, the Pandavas, along with the Yadus, meaning over in Dwarka? We're the Pandavas over here, Hastinapur, the Yadus over there in Dwarka. With all their fame and strength, what are any of us without you? We are like the senses without the jiva. And Vishwanath's commentary. But Bhima and Arjun, your sons, are very powerful. The king of Dharma personified. The king is Dharma personified. And the Yadavas are your friends. You have no worries. Kunti. Who are we, Pandavas? With the Yadus, having fame, nama, and ability, rupa, without your presence. Similarly, without the presence of the jiva, the senses have no significance or power. Now that's the end of this evening's discussion on Queen Kunti's verses. There are some additional verses coming up. So stay tuned for part 7, and let's see what happens for all of you in part 7. I guess the only solution is to stay in one place and just do the whole series, or to encourage people to, even when they're not physically present for the whole series, to hear. But the whole package of her prayers, when heard separately and then stitched together, she has profound realization. And here's something that I didn't understand before. This came up in our visits in Austin. When, how did Kunti leave this world? We know about her parents' appearances as small. We know about the appearance of the Pandavas. We know about Krishna's departure from this world, Balaram's departure from this world. What was the arrangement for Kunti's departure from this world? It's very interesting. It goes like this. After the Kurukshetra battle, and there was again a second Rajasuya. Yudhishthira is officially the emperor of the world, and they're residing in Hastinapur, not in Indraprastha, the emperor of the world. And something happened. The something that happened was that Vidura had been on pilgrimage. Vidura, who was insulted before the battle, and so he left and went on pilgrimage. And he didn't go directly to Krishna, but he went on pilgrimage for purification, because he felt, I've been in this contaminating association. I need purification. So he went, as others have done, this big circuitous journey, and ended up on the west coast of India, and he came to know, because he visited the very same place where the Pandavas, the Kaurava, the Yadu dynasty destroyed each other. So he knew that, and Krishna had departed shortly after, and Balaram had departed, and he knew. So he continued, he was crestfallen, but he continued his journey, and in the course of his journey, he met in the beginning of Canto 3 Bhagavatam, he met, who did he meet? First, before Maitreya, Uddhava. Yeah. Is that right? I'm checking with your son. Yes? Krishna met, no, Vidura met Uddhava. And they had this nice discussion. They had very, very wonderful, 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 wonderful samadhi discussion of Uddhava. So intimately. Then after hearing from Uddhava, Vidura had some additional questions, and he wanted this, that, and the other thing, and the other thing. He, Vidura, is elder, and Uddhava is younger. So, although most elevated because of his intimate association with Krishna, Uddhava was certainly capable of answering Vidura's questions, but out of deference to the fact that of Vidura's seniority, he directed him to go to hear the answers to his questions from Maitreya, who was not so far away. He was in the Himalayas, which is kind of far from Vrindavan, but not terribly far. And so Vidura, went and found Maitreya. How do you find Maitreya in the Himalayas? But he was living in a cave. He found him. And they had a lengthy discussion, many, many chapters in the Canto 4 Bhagavatam, the discussion between the two. And then after that discussion, Vidura returned back to Hastinapur. And when he turned back to Hastinapur, he sat with his elder blind brother, Dhritarashtra. And although he was the younger brother looks up to the elder brother. The elder brother was blind spiritually and materially. So it was not uncommon where Vidura would counsel his elder brother. And the elder brother recognized the wisdom of Vidura. So in the course of their discussion, slowly, Vidura advised Dhritarashtra, you need to purify yourself. As I went to purify myself, you need to purify yourself. You should go to the forest and engage in austerities. Now, Dhritarashtra was capable, but attached. He showed his capabilities later. So he, after, according to the Mahabharata, 35 years after the Kurukshetra battle, which means Yudhisthira had ruled for 35 years, he decided, he and Gandhari decided to go to the Himalayas and engage in, actually specifically to Rishikesh. No, Haridwar. To Haridwar, engage in austerities. Guess who went with them? Kunti. I didn't understand this before, but so here she went with them, and why did she go with them? So her sons pleaded with her. You're a mother. You're